Good night, sweet dreams. That's what my dad would say to me. But sometimes I had trouble falling asleep. Then he would tell me stories about his travels. I want this tradition to live on. So now, let me share my stories with you. The cloud-white snow crunches under my snowshoes. It glistens in the morning light, thousands of tiny crystals, reflecting the sun in all directions. Here, in the wintry wonderland of Kuusamo in northeastern Finland, I don't have to be an early bird to see the sunrise. It's January, so the sun doesn't come up until well after 9 in the morning. With the first rays, my guide Heikki and I set off on our long-awaited snowshoe hike through the Oulanka National Park. With each step, we make an unmistakable mark on the pristine snow. Looking at the blank canvas around me, it's easy to forget that other people even exist. The tracks we leave behind are the only evidence of life in this peaceful silence. When I try to visualize the word wilderness, this forest is exactly what comes to mind. We pass by huge trees, bowed down under the weight of the heavy snow. Their roots protrude from the white ground like sculptures crafted by nymphs. With each inhale, I can feel the freezing cold air traveling through my body. And when I exhale, my breath streams out into the taiga like morning fog. I pull down my thick woolly hat as far as it'll go, trying to cover my eyebrows, which feel as if they've frozen on my face. The air is so bone-chillingly clear that I can't smell anything at all. Everything seems to come to a standstill in this cold, the forest resting silently around us. I feel the weight of the silence, the same way these trees feel the weight of the snow. It carries a sense of reverence with it, a feeling of respect for the quiet wildness of nature. Heikki and I walk side by side, enjoying the companionable silence. Only our staggered footsteps let the surroundings hear that there are two of us. I watch Heikki's practiced gait in the snowshoes and can't help but be impressed. The tall blond man glides effortlessly over the powdered sugar, while I feel distinctly like a waddling penguin. I look closer at Heikki's feet, noticing that he's taking wider steps than I am, and try to imitate him. Ah, yes, this already feels much smoother. We continue on slowly through the sprawling forest of Oulanka. In my mind's eye, I can see the tracks of all the animals that find shelter in this wilderness. Round little birds fluffed up in ancient tree hollows. Fuzzy beavers nestled together in their river lodges. Creatures big and small, all curled up in their cozy burrows. In fact, I feel quite cozy myself. My down jacket and snow pants are keeping me toasty warm, and I've even started enjoying the biting cold on my face. The soft rustle of our clothing and the quiet crunch of the snow under our feet are the only sounds I can hear. All others are swallowed by the deep blanket of white. We hike deeper and deeper into the sparse pine forest. The icy breath of nature surrounds me, and I can feel the clear, cold air filling my lungs. I enjoy the fact that I can be silent with Heikki, that we can be alone together without feeling like either of us has to force conversation. As the ground begins to angle upwards, Heikki shows me how to navigate steeper terrain in snowshoes. His voice is deep and calm, and I quite like the slight Finnish accent to his English. His explanation is quick and to the point. Angle my feet out in a V shape, shift my center of gravity forward, and ascend straight up. At first, this unnatural walking position requires all my concentration, but soon enough my legs fall into a rhythm and I can turn my attention back to my surroundings. After a while of climbing, we reach a large clearing surrounded by snow-covered hills and pocked with small lakes. Just a few of the little bodies of water that give Finland its nickname, the land of 1,000 lakes. Further south in this country, boats may still be chugging across lakes here and there, but up here, in the region of Lapland, all water has frozen solid. Each lake is like a mirror, a circle of glass, dropped in the snow by a careless giant of the forest. The sun reflects brightly off each of the smooth, icy surfaces. It's gaining strength rapidly, as if aware of the short time it has to shine on this section of the earth. The snow sparkles, looking more like crushed diamonds than frozen water. The sight is breathtaking, and I have to linger for a moment to soak up its beauty. We can't stop for very long, though. The cold of Lapland is unforgiving to those who don't stay in motion. I may have gotten comfortable while we were walking, but as soon as I stand still, the sub-zero temperatures begin to seep through even my thick down jacket. I take one last look at the stunning view. Then we continue onwards. Our path heads back downhill from here. Imitating Heikki, I bend my knees to shift my center of gravity lower and lean back slightly to take the weight off the front of my snowshoes. I feel almost graceful sliding down the slope in long strides, as if I've worn snowshoes all my life. Certainly, my days of penguin waddling are far behind me. Exhilarated by my learning curve, I grin and enjoy the smooth motions of our climb down. Our descent leads us to the Kitkajoki, one of the wild winding rivers that cuts through Oulanka National Park. In the summer, its raging rapids attract daring travelers from all over the world for adventurous rafting tours. But at this time of the year, the infamous roar of the rapids is hard to even imagine. The waves of foaming water as loud and boisterous as they may be in the summer, have been subdued by the temperatures into a sleepy flow. Now they only rise softly in undulating formations, as if remembering past adventures. As we walk along the banks of the Kitkajoki, I catch sight of a group of tiny birds, seeming to sit directly on the water's surface. White-crested dippers. I have a bit of a soft spot for these little inconspicuous creatures, so fluffy and round with their shimmering brown and white coats, but able to dive into the iciest of Finland's waters for food. Despite the cold, I retrieve my trusty binoculars from my jacket pocket. With stiff fingers, I turn the focus wheel to observe the dippers up close. The freezing is truly worth it. The dippers glide elegantly along the surface of the river, then dive abruptly under the layer of ice. Their movements are fluid and graceful, as if these feathered orbs are part of the water itself. The icy waters seem to give them no trouble, and they emerge onto slippery rocks and sheets of snow, only to plunge back below the waves. Whenever they surface, glittering droplets of water splash off their feathers, and their characteristic white crest shines in contrast to their dark brown plumage. The dippers seem to be just as comfortable in this wintry wonderland as I am, admittedly, perhaps even more so. They stay in motion, and I'm reminded, suddenly aware of the sharp stinging in my fingers, that we should get moving again too. We follow the meandering movements of the tamed white water, ducking under trees that bend over the frozen bank to form half a tunnel. Heikki leads the way, with a quiet confidence exuding from his every movement. He clearly knows this area like the back of his hand, as if he carries a map of this forest deep within his bones. And then, just around the next bend, we reach a sight that I can't even comprehend at first. We've arrived at the highlight of our hike, the Jurava waterfall. I thought that its roar would be audible long before it came into view, that as soon as I caught sight of it, I'd no longer be able to hear the crunching of snow or the rustling of our sleeves. But there's no roaring here, no thundering of falling water. There's only the same crunching and rustling and silence. The imposing waterfall is completely frozen over. The masses of water that would ordinarily be smashing onto the rocks below are now locked in a towering sculpture of pure ice, glistening in bright shades of blue and silver as if illuminated from a slumbering light within. Curving icicles reach out from the sculpture like frozen flames leaping up the sheer cliff face. It feels as if time itself has frozen here. The cold surrounds me as I step closer in a trance, reaching out to touch the silent waterfall. There's a soft murmur of water flowing underneath the encasement of ice. as if the waterfall is simply in a deep sleep, waiting for spring to come and wake it up again. I gaze up at the massive ice sculpture, spellbound. The glistening fractal surfaces, the shining diamond-like edges, and the absolute stillness of nature encompass me, immersing me in the magic of this unique place. When I finally tear my eyes away from the Jurava waterfall, I see Heikki sitting by a small campfire. I hadn't even noticed him set it up, with how entranced I'd been. I join him a little sheepishly, and he laughs, his eyes crinkling with amusement. He waves a hand vaguely in the direction of the waterfall, explaining that all who come here have a similar reaction. I glance back up at it as I sit down, idly comparing the tendrils of ice to those of the fire. The heat of the flames stings a little while my face unthaws, but I quickly become pleasantly cozy. The crackling fire casts dancing shadows onto the snow and emits a comforting scent of burning wood into the clear winter air. Heikki hands me a steaming mug of tea, which spreads soothing warmth into my hands. His grandmother's blueberry tea, he says with pride. I breathe in the fresh aromas of the north. They remind me of late summers in the woods, of green leaves and soft moss. Even the deep blue color of the tea reminds me of summer days, when the lakes are the color of the sky. I take small sips, appreciating the gentle flavors and the feeling of being warmed from the inside out. Heikki removes the lid of a little plastic box, and the hearty smell of baked dough and potatoes suddenly fills the air. He hands me an oval pastry he introduces as Karjalan piraka. These Karelian pies are made of a thin rye crust shaped around a helping of mashed potatoes and baked golden. The rich aroma mingles with that of the blueberry tea, making my mouth water. I gratefully accept his gift, and we return to companionable silence while we enjoy our lunch. By the time the fire has burned down, the sun is already low in the sky. I had almost forgotten that night will hit this region before 4 p.m. and that this forest will be submerged in shadows long before the day is up. We pack our belongings and return the way we came, with Heikki leading us back through the wilderness to our car. The drive home is as quiet and peaceful as our walk was, and in no time at all we've reached the parking lot nearest to the lodge I'm staying at. The trail from here to my cozy wooden hut can only be traveled on foot, so we say a warm goodbye to each other before I head out on the last stretch by myself. I follow the winding path through the forest, along the bank of another lake, another giant's mirror in the snow. The low sun bathes the snow-covered landscape in a warm golden light, giving the weighed-down trees and frozen lake a fairy tale-like glow. The wooden cabin, settled right by the edge of the water, radiates an inviting warmth. And as I open the door, the scent of fresh pine envelops me. The cabin has a comfortable rustic interior, with wooden furniture and cozy blankets just waiting for me to come snuggle up in them. In the middle of the living room is an iron stove with chopped logs piled up next to it. I peel off my winter layers, looking forward to resting after the long day outdoors. I carefully place a few logs inside the oven, smiling as the wood crackles and starts to burn. The flames dance within their iron box and cast a warm, flickering light around the room. I make myself a fresh cup of herbal tea and settle down in the squishy green armchair in front of the oven, watching the flames softly blaze away. The cozy warmth of the fire spreads around the room and drives the last traces of Oulanka's cold from my bones. There's a small stack of books on the side table next to me, but I forgo it in favor of letting my gaze wander out through the window. The frozen lake stretches off into the tree line, and the sky slowly turns a deep purple. By late afternoon, the landscape is plunged into inky darkness. I feel deeply immersed in the Finnish wilderness, safely within my oasis of peace and relaxation. I can feel the exertion of the hike in my bones. My eyelids become heavy, and I let them drift shut. I sink deeper into the armchair, allowing the soft fabric to wrap around me. The biting cold of the winter outside is already far away, though my fingertips tingle in memory of its frost. As my limbs get heavier and heavier, I hike once more through the forests of Oulanka. My snowshoes skate elegantly over the heavy snow. I slip into the shimmering robe of a dipper and dive into the frozen rapids. I turn into water itself, flowing over slopes, tumbling into cascades, until I freeze into an icy lake. Another forgotten mirror in the Finnish wilderness.